One of the things I hate painting on is a white canvas. So ever since my school days, I figured out why not tint my canvas. And today I'm going to show you how to tint a canvas. Hello and welcome. My name is Charlambos. I go by Bob. I am not your typical painter. And soon I am going to start a new painting. I just wrapped up my Galambaka painting, which I titled Between Heaven and Earth, and now, after a long thought process, I have chosen a photograph that I'm going to use for a painting. But before I get into that, I need a canvas to paint on. And this video will show you how I went from a plain canvas to this nice blue one. For this job, you're going to need a few things. Gesso, which is obvious. A bowl that you're not going to be afraid to ruin. A good quality nylon brush. And last but not least, some acrylic paint. For the first coat, it's going to be very light. So, I'm going to add some water. The goal is to be thin to thick. And the way I make it thin is by adding water and adding gesso to the bowl. And then giving it a nice little stir. The goal is for it to penetrate the canvas. Very important is seal your gesso so it doesn't dry up once you do that, because it does dry. And I'm going to add just a little more water. Okay, now time to paint. It is very important to make sure you cover the canvas of 100% with the gesso with every coat, including the first stage, which is the very watered down thin one. You could go from outside to inside or inside to outside. In this scenario, I am going outside to inside. Something I want to mention ahead of time is applying gesso to a canvas could take quite a while. It might be an ongoing process. It might take an entire day or two, especially if it's kind of cold. The warmer the weather, the drying time is obviously going to be sped up. Unfortunately, I was not so lucky when I was doing it. It was cold. It's also very important to get the edges, especially the corners. Try to make sure you soak the inside of the corner, and also to brush away the excess. Don't let clumps of gesso build up. A good way to see if it's dry is by touching it. When it's fully dry, and this might take a whole day, you may actually start applying the next coat. In this second coat, you're going to add a little bit of water, but not a lot. That way you get a slightly thicker coat. Same thing. Make sure you cover the canvas 100%. Go from inside to out or outside to in. And in this scenario, I'm switching it up and I'm going from the inside and I'm going to the outside. Same thing as before, 100% coverage, including the edges and corners. And once in a while, you'll get like little debris. If you do, don't be afraid to pick it out. And then brush away the marks you made from picking up the debris. Better to get it while it's still wet than when it dries. Again, I'm going to emphasize the edges and the corners. Make sure you cover those also 100%, and that you smooth out the edges. No clumps. When you see the clumps, just brush away. Now for the third coat, which is going to be thick, but still a little water in it. Same as before, 100% coverage, and don't forget the corners and edges as well. Before I do the last coat, I usually do a little sanding. That way I could smooth out any imperfections. And also so the final coat also sticks nicely on it. In this scenario, if you want an ultra smooth canvas, this is a step you're going to have to repeat. And now time to add blue into the gesso and stir it up. I'm using a palette knife in this scenario. You could use your brush, but I'm going to use a palette knife. Once the consistency of the blue is nice, you start applying the gesso that is tinted, just like any ordinary gesso, nothing special. Same drying time. The only difference is it will be blue. And the nice thing is you'll know you covered the canvas 100% because it's going to be blue on white instead of white on white. Again, I don't have to remind you, but I will. Edges and corners and 100% coverage. And smooth out the edges when possible. Now I'm going to do one last coat. I'm not going to really talk much on what I'm going to do. But let's just say this is the final coat. This is something that might require a day or two. So plan ahead and don't rush it. Don't think you're going to get this done in less than an hour. This is going to take way longer. And I do 4 coats. Some people could do more or less. But think of it this way, the more coats, I feel like in the end, the canvas has this better feel to it. And also, if you want ultra smoothness, adding more coats and sanding will actually get you better results. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching. Hopefully you got some value out of this video and learned how to tint a canvas, because it will come handy. I think it beats using white. I used blue, you could use other colors. The choice is yours. Or it depends on the mood of the painting. Or at least that's how I pick. Anyhow, as a sneak peek to what this blue canvas amounts in the future, this is my current painting. I will have footage on the making of it soon. So stay tuned. Once again, my name is Charlene Bose. I go by Bob. I am not your typical painter. Thanks for watching. Also, check out my Instagram where I post pretty frequently new and older pieces.